Good evening, good evening, everybody. Everybody. If you're watching us on Facebook, if you're watching us on YouTube, if you're watching us on LinkedIn, welcome to Leadership Live. So I am doing right now what I'm going to encourage you to do, and it's called going to the little share button, going to the share button and sharing this live. So I'm going to tell you that's what leaders do. Leaders share. Leaders are not selfish with their information. Leaders share. If you're not willing to share, then you're not really a leader. If you're already sharing, then you're probably leading somebody and maybe you don't even know it. So I'm going to just let the people know we are live now. Uh, This is, I'm an educator, so this is me modeling. I'm modeling for you. Go. I know some of y'all don't know who I am, but it's okay. Just do what I ask you to do. Share. Go ahead. Now, we go to them that it's live now. And if you're watching this on a replay, welcome. Throw me a little hashtag replay in the comments. So I need you to tell the people that we're live now. And, if you need to tag a friend, because we're live now. Did you do it? Did you do it? I'll wait. I'm not going to wait too long, though, because it's important that you know. I am Dr. Anita L. Webb, and welcome to Leadership Live. I'm over the moon excited to have you today. This is week 38 of Leadership Live. So I would say that means that we made it through 38 weeks of 2021. The reality is we're actually reached week 39. But, it was some things that happened one week, and, we had to do a rerun from 2019, but we're going to get it all on track. I promise I'm going to get you 52 people at least. I might get you more than 52 because I missed a week because of, life. Life happened. It wasn't my life, but it was life. But I'm doing this with guests. It's not all about me. Right? So I'm excited. So Leadership Live, what is it? It's a sharing of journeys. It's a sharing of people's experiences, their leadership experiences. Because the reality is that you don't have to learn everything on your own through your own life experience, because we're interconnected with other people. You can learn from other people's experiences. Sometimes you just got to listen and hear what lessons they learn, so you don't have to learn it the hard way. Who is about not learning things the hard way if they don't have to? Me, I'm about not learning things the hard way if I don't have to. So that's what we do. We share stories. And in 2019, I did it by myself. And here in the year 2021, I am doing it with friends. Yes. I brought you 37 amazing guests thus far. And just know, 38, just be ready for anything. This is probably going to be my most unique episode of Leadership Live ever. Be ready. Just be ready. So, who am I? I am Dr. Renita. I am an educational leadership strategist, which means I love to work with growing and aspiring leaders. It says growing and aspiring. I don't care if you've been a leader for 52 years or you might be one next week. I love working with growing and aspiring leaders to become more authentic in their leadership, to empower their fellowship, and at the end of the day, just make a greater impact on the world. I am also a wife and mother of four children. I birthed two and I own two. And those two that I own, they helped me create this beautiful story, the stepmom journey, and which made me an author. I am the author of Stepmom Trials, Tribulations, and Triumphs, editions 1 and 2, as well as While You're Sleeping, the most wonderful children of all ages story. I am also the founder of The Refining Life, a nonprofit 501c3 organization whose mission is to provide you with experiences so that you can have your mindset shifted and lead a more positive and productive life. And we just finished our 7th conference. Just so you know, if you go to the Refining Life page on YouTube or Facebook, you can catch the entire conference, all 7 days. Enjoy it. It's going to be up there for about a week. I'm not promising you longer than that, so jump on it. I am also a mentor, a veteran educator, having served grades kindergarten through college. I am a coach. I love coaching, and I am also a queen, honey. I'm a queen and I am a queen. I am the current reigning Elite Southern Charms North Carolina Ultimate Grand Supreme, as well as the current reigning Mrs. Black North Carolina. Honey, I'm into year 3 and still loving it, but I know that my reign will come to a close at some point in time, but I'm going to love and represent as long as I'm here. So, for what you've all been waiting for, if you saw my post today, if you saw the announcement for today's guest, you already know it's getting ready to be on and popping. If you didn't, get ready to be on and popping. Once again, probably my most unique episode of Leadership Live today. So I am going to go ahead and bring my guest into the room and it's my first in-studio guest. Like, I've never had an in-studio guest. This is like amazing. So I'm gonna make way. See the second chair here. Here comes my in-studio guest. Come on, in-studio guest. Come on, in-studio guest. Ouch.
All right. Thank you.
So you see my in-studio guest.
How y'all doing? I'm Jerry Webb, and I'm glad to be here today. Just listening to all that this beautiful woman said, is she has so much going on in her life. I had to get on schedule just to come into the office today. But I'm here and I'm looking at the studio today, and I'm looking at myself on camera. Each ever. You ain't got nothing on me. But I'm just glad to be here today to talk about leadership and marriage and as parents.
Yes. So I have Reverend Jared L. Webb Sr. here with me today. And so look, there's a reason why the Rev is not there. It was either the Rev or the Senior. And eventually you may meet another Jared L. Webb in this camera. He may come. Right. So I just thought we should give the Senior today. So Jared.
Yes, Doctor.
Could you tell the people a little bit about you? Tell them about Jared.
Okay, well, from Durham, North Carolina, was educated in Durham public school systems. Served in the military. Did 5 years. Served over in Operation Iraqi Freedom, where I fought combat. I have worked in capacity as I've been a shift manager. I have worked as mortgage collection. Done various different things in the church, far as being a youth pastor, well, helped in the youth ministry, taught Sunday school, vacation Bible school. We also was chaplains for a mentor group. We done different tasks throughout the church.
You help about
Bible study, young adult Bible study. I just about anything that was done in the church, I have been a part of, and helped and have led in some capacities in that field. I've been president of choir, vice president of choir, just various different things. And one of my greatest joys is being a father of 4 wonderful kids. As my wife said, 2 sons and 2 daughters. And we also have grandkids. So that's just a little bit of what I have experienced so far in my short life.
Because you're so young about that.
Yes.
So in addition to that, you're also a student now. So
I'm a student. Degree. I have my bachelor's degree from Grand Canyon University, and I'm also working on my master's in divinity right now. This time, I'm about halfway through with that, and just pressing on. Pretty soon I'll be done, and there's one doctor in the family, and that's enough. I'm not God didn't call me to do that. And God got to come down from heaven and sit on my shoulder for me to go get that PhD. Right now, the master's would be enough.
Yes. So yeah, this has been a process.
Yeah.
But we made it this far. So
right.
So one of the things that I always enjoy talking with other people about with you is the dynamics of marriage.
Right.
So we have been married now for a long time. It's really not that long. It's 12 years.
12 and a half years.
It is not half.
Oh, no, it's not.
We didn't get married until July.
Yeah, my bad. 13 and a half years we've been together.
But we didn't get married until July.
Yeah.
So it's been 12 years.
12 years. 12 years.
And so when I talk about this leadership realm, I talk about, I always introduce myself as a wife and a mother of 4.
Yes.
But wife first, because, first came love, then came marriage. Well, and, Renita came with a baby carriage, but it was a little bit time after.
Right.
But, leading in a marriage is something that I don't think a lot of people think about.
Right. And
especially a shared leadership.
Yes.
A lot of people think about this whole idea of, there's the head of household and then, then there's everybody else.
Right.
But we're in this together.
Yes.
We got 4 kids.
4
kids.
Yes.
4 whole kids.
Yes.
And we had 2 of them when we got married.
Yes.
I didn't birth them. Those are the 2 that I own. He had 2 kids. He was fast. That's what I tell him.
I was a single father raising 2 boys.
But no, he had been married too before. But so you've been in one union and you've come into this different one. in a different way.
Right.
When you thought of marriage and two people coming together, especially with having been a single father, how did you think of roles as far as leadership would go? And how had they been before? And what's different now?
Before I didn't really take things as serious. Was young, was inexperienced. So the roles of that we played were there wasn't any roles. We was just going through the motions. Me and you, before we got married, we had talks about, how we saw our union. And we also put God first in our marriage. That's the first thing. We always put God first. But far as we talk about as a head of the household, I would say that yes, as a head of the household, a lot of people like to say, a lot of guys like to say the head of a household. And I tell people all the time, and I did this in my sermon, and we talk about it. First off, a head has a neck, but just being the head of the household, let's look at your head. Your head, top of the head, you have a brain, you got eyes, you got ears, and you got a mouth. To be the head of the household, sometimes we like to speak and we don't observe. That's why we have eyes and ears, so we can see and we can hear. And then we go from there. Then you see, hear. At first you think, you see, you hear, and then you speak. And when you do that, you have a better way of communicating, a better way of dealing with situations that come up. You can't just talk. You can't just speak and say things and look, you do this, you go do this. I'm telling you do this, and not observing and not paying attention to what's going on throughout your household. Being a head of household as a male, and there are females that are head of the household, you have to observe. Now, biblically, we talk about head of household, we talk about males, but there are single mothers out here. They are the head of their household. They are doing things, but also being the head of the household, I have a neck. Now, I'm not saying my wife is beneath me. My wife is right there with me. I use the term evenly yoked. They talk about that. We're talking about we're going in the same direction, doing the same thing with the same agenda in life. We don't, if she might have a little more experience than I do in certain things, the evenly yoke thing means she's pulling me along, training me in the direction that I need to go. Same thing with me. If I got a little more experience in something than she has, then I'm training her, or we talking to each other. We communicate, not going to use the word training, but we're bouncing information off of each other to get on the same page. And I think that's what we do in our marriage.
Yeah.
We feed off of each other. I feed off of her, she feeds off of me, and we are trying to walk in the same direction. And that's part of being the head. Is I know that there are certain things that she's better in than I am. And so I give her, she has that responsibility. Being a head means knowing your strengths and weaknesses.
That's being a leader.
That's being a leader.
Yeah, I mean, I bring this beyond this head of household. So leadership is leadership, and head of household is a leadership position.
Right.
And it's a situation where your fellowship has to trust you.
Yes.
And I think that's where some people get hung up, especially when we use words like submission.
Right. But fellowship has to trust you, but you also have to trust those that
in your fellowship.
In your fellowship.
Yeah,
definitely.
I mean, so thinking about not just marriage, think about parental type things.
Yeah.
So we have a daughter who is 10. Did you just say it like that? I'm gonna let her watch this, and I'm gonna let her hear that.
The preteen.
It's rough.
She thinks she's 16.
It's rough. Lord. Yes, it is. But she's 10, and so we have a lot of her certain responsibilities.
Yes, most certainly.
And so in parental leadership, that is part of the deal. You have to be able to succession plan. What we are doing in telling our child to clean her own room.
Right.
What we're doing in telling our child to take her clothes downstairs to the laundry room.
Yes.
That is really succession planning and helping her eventually take off some of our roles in our life into her own life.
Right.
So she can leave this house and be able to take her clothes to a laundry room. So she can leave this house and have a clean room.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So in addition to the fact that we have a 10-year-old daughter, we also have a 4-year-old daughter who in her mind is 16.
Yes, she said all the time 16.
Yeah. How old are you? I'm 16. She's 16. And so we're dealing with a 16-year-old minded 4-year-old. But she also has to have responsibilities. But you have to know what you can trust your fellowship with.
Right. Definitely.
You just got to know what you can trust your fellowship with. But that requires you knowing your fellowship. So in this marriage, my husband is the head of household. And he says stuff sometimes that makes me want to roll my eyes. No, not want to. I roll my eyes.
Yes.
Yes, very hard. But he also knows, I mean, for lack of a better word, yes, we walk side by side. I'm a rib, honey. I can't run here. I'm a rib. So we walk side by side, but I mean, he's the head of household. But so I am a member of his fellowship. And so he got to know me, men folk. And he may say something different. But since we're here together, here it goes. Men folk, you better figure out who your wife is before you marry her if you can. That don't mean live with her.
No.
That means figure her out. Because even that pre-living together is still going to give you a false identity because it's different when you make a pledge to God.
Right.
But you better figure her out. You better figure her out. Wives, figure out your husband. Figure out your boo. If you have a partner, you better figure out your partner.
Right.
Because there is no way anybody can lead without knowing their fellowship.
Definitely.
And the thing is, it's hard for you to follow without knowing the leader. How can you follow the leader? You don't even know who the leader is. Do you feel like you know that?
Most definitely. Over these years, 13 plus years, we have definitely got to know each other. I know your weaknesses, I know your strengths. Well, I know your strengths, and your weaknesses. You know my strengths, my weaknesses. That's why this union works. Like I was saying before, I know where I'm strong at. I know where I'm weak at. So being a leader means to not delegate, but give you stronger in handling finances than I am. So that's the role that you take. I take a different role than I'm stronger at. And I think sometimes we got to know that. And that comes not just in the household, that's also on the job. You got to know where you're strong. I've worked with a lot of managers that did not know that want to take on every role.
Yeah.
They didn't want to give responsibility to anybody.
And how tired were they?
It wears you out. It wears you out.
So I'll bring it back to this parent thing.
Yes.
There are a lot of parents who want to take on every role. It's a lot of mamas who I am every woman, it's all in me. It's a lot of daddies who got a point to prove and they're going to try to do everything. And then you're tired and mad. And then you also mad at your kids.
Right. Yes.
Why aren't you doing anything? Why can't you do anything? You don't know how to wash a dish. No, they don't, because you did it.
Right. You never taught them how to do it. And that's one of the things we have to do as parents. We have to teach our children, because we talked about this. The role of parent and the role of spouse, that is where your greatest leadership role qualities should be. And I have worked with a lot of people that were, when I was in the Army, there were people that were great NCOs. They had 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 people under them that they were responsible for. And everybody like, man, they're such a great NCO. Then you got to know them more. NCO is a non-commissioned, my bad. For those who not, there's non-commissioned officers. Those are people who are like your E5s to your E9s. And E5s to your E9s. Those are those individuals, male or female. And they have a responsibility. They have soldiers that are up under them that they are responsible for. Some of these people I've worked with have been great at their job. Then you get to know them personally, and you go to their house, and their leadership stop at the door. You find out they don't have any leadership skills when it comes to dealing with their spouse or their children. And as I know, we can get tired as parents, work all day, but your leadership should not stop when you reach your door. Your leadership skills and your leadership abilities you should really show those abilities on your kids, not on your kids, but showing your kids how to be a leader, because they're going to be what? Your future.
Absolutely.
And if you're not showing them how to be a leader now, who's going to show them?
Or somebody's going to show them in a way that you don't want.
Right. That's why we have so many gangs nowadays.
It's us creating a false sense of family.
Right.
And it's giving, what really happens in some cases, that it gives some people leadership.
Right.
Over foolishness. Yes. Right. So like Whitney Houston sang a whole song, I believe the children are the future, teach them well and let them lead the way. Like it wasn't a game. Like it's not a game. And as parents, we have to understand, one, biblical principle, to whom much is given, much is required.
Yes.
If you're given leadership on your job, if you're given a spouse, if you're given kids, much is required. Like you got stuff to do. Like you got people to handle.
Yes.
And you can't lead at work and then come home and think it's over.
Right.
I'll say case in point. One, God bless my husband, because sis used to be a principal. And I used to be an assistant principal. And by the time I got home, I didn't want to people anymore. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want nobody to touch me. I had been hugged on, snotted on, everything. And I wanted to quit. I wanted to, like Jerry said, I wanted to lead at work and come home and shut out life. And you can't do that. I had a whole husband, and at the house at that time, 3 whole children.
And a whole big dog.
And a whole big dog.
They wanted your attention too.
Yes. Everything wanted my attention, because the beauty is that I was genuinely missed.
Yes.
Not being home. But by the time I got home, I didn't want people. And and so I love that I see one of my former guests on here, Tasha Richardson, on here, and we talked about working through the imbalance of life. Life will never be balanced. But it's, in a marriage, in parental, in working jobs, and being leaders elsewhere, it's about trying to strike priorities at a certain time.
Yeah.
And something has to take priority. Something always is going to be low on the weight, and something is going to always take high priority. So I'm going to ask you, Herman.
Yes.
How do you, so when you think about your priorities, how are they lined up? And then how do you choose priorities at different times? Because I know they should.
First off, I always take things to God.
Did I tell y'all this was my husband? I hope y'all picked that up.
So I always take everything. I hope you call me honey, but I always take everything to God. And then what is high?
What do you take to God though? Like when you're talking to God about your stuff, like what priorities? What is that? How does that look like? How does that sound?
How does that sound? Well, first off, I take everything. Honestly, I mean, that's up, food, how I'm gonna cook dinner, something like that. So
he better start. I bet our dinners would be better if you pray. You're like, God, you know what, God, I want to feed these people a delicious.
Then God might say make macaroni, and God might say oodles and noodles.
And then God is not gonna say that. No, not the way my God. My God is not set up for oodles and noodles, God.
That's one of the things when I said earlier, being the head, what your head has. Your head has a brain, you have eyes, ears. You have to observe. You have to realize what's going on, who needs what at that time. If JJ, who's our 23-year-old son, is he 23? Yeah, he's 23. He's 23-year-old son. What's going on in his life? I see one thing as being a father or a mother, being a parent, you have to know your kids.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, and definitely you have to know your spouse. And I can tell if when you're not right.
How do you know your kids, and how do you know your spouse?
I spend time with them.
Oh.
I spend time with them. I talk to them. We talk to our kids on the phone. Me and my son, my son, and even my other son, our other son Gerard. We have had a close relationship because I have spent so much time with them. I invested in them, and I invest in my girls. If you see me, I'm at the dance practice, I'm at the soccer practice, I'm at the pageants. I invest. So I got to know. I know my children on a personal level.
Now, please know he was also at the football and the basketball and the track.
Football games. I held the chains at the football games, and
I was at the game sometimes.
So I the same attention I gave my sons when they were playing sports, I give my daughters. So I know them. So I can, when you say prioritize, I see what is needed. Who's everybody get the same amount of love. Everybody get the same amount of attention. But sometimes I have to give this child attention before I give this child attention. And then sometimes I have to give my wife the attention that she needs. And you just have to observe what's going on around you. Cannot be lost. We all have long days, and you cannot blame it on a long day. You got to come home, and you have to be a parent. You have to be a spouse. You have to be a leader. You have to be a teacher. You have to be a preacher, a follower. You have to do all these things. Every man and woman who has a family has these responsibilities, and those responsibilities can't fall to the wayside. Like you said, because you come back from a long day of work. We have to get on our horse and we have to ride it till the wheels fall off when that horse got shoes. But
but yeah, we're gonna roll like the horse got wheels. But so I'll ask this. So I think about myself, and I would come home and I had to find ways to rejuvenate so that I could go forth and be present. Because sometimes the day had gotten so whatever, I couldn't even try to be present. But it was great. I was grateful to have an hour drive because some of that helped. So as a dad, and even thinking about when you were a single dad, how did you find ways, or what were your ways? What were some of the strategies that you used to rejuvenate so that you could go forth and even, like, sometimes I think I'm so full of stuff that I can't even see what's going on.
Yes.
How do you kind of refine your mind in a moment, or be revived so that you can then be the dad, the husband, the leader that you want?
One of the things, like you said, the long drives, the drives from work. That's one of the times that when I was a single dad, even now, because when I go up to Durham and go work, that drive to come home, that's the time that I find myself. I'm able to think. One of the things I do when I'm taking those long drives, those 45-minute or hour drives, I cut off music and I just have a talk. Sometimes I'm nothing, just a talk. Some people might think I'm crazy because sometimes I'm actually talking, but that's what I do. I take walks. I always enjoy sports.
But you don't need to be playing sports like that.
But somebody got me on. I can't play like I used to. But
talk to his ankles.
But I get out there. You have to find joy in the things. If you like to sew, if you like to read, if you like to design, paint, whatever, give you that release where you can just exhale. That's what you need to do, because you can't get caught up. You got to have time to yourself. If you don't take time to yourself, you will go crazy. But I think that's the thing that worked for us, that we feed off each other. But you got single parents out there that don't have that release.
Right.
They boom, boom. And I've been there. Like I say, I was a single father for 6 years with 2 boys before we got married. And it was boom, boom, boom. You drop them off at work, at school, 7 o'clock. You pick them up. You're taking them to football practice. You go in here. You're taking them to basketball practice. And they were singing in the choir. They ran track. It was boom, 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 boom. But luckily, I had family on the weekends that would take them.
So so this is, I talk about a lot of times being village minded.
Right.
Right. So I grew up in a single parent household.
Yeah.
And yet I had all of these people. Like, I had this in.
She got 5,200 uncles and aunts.
I sure do. And I love them all. But so in reality, my mother does not have that many brothers or sisters, but she showed me what it was like to grow village.
Right.
And so this is village lifestyle that I learned to live. So, being village minded, which is something that I think that we all need to adapt, being
Yes.
village minded is really not only activating a village, but you got to create it.
Correct. Right.
And so some of us are fortunate enough to have village that is, automatic because it's our family.
Right.
But now I will say this, and
Not
I'm
all.
gonna say this to you. Not
Right.
all your family is your village.
Right. Definitely. Especially when it comes to your children.
I'm gonna drop that right there.
Especially when it comes to your children. Everybody can't, you didn't let everybody watch our children, even the boys. I mean, not everybody can watch you. Like you said, your village, you got to be careful who you put in your village.
You got to be careful who you keep in your village too. You should be doing regular village assessment. So one, you got to create the village. You got to know yourself. You got to deal with that total, honest, awesome truth. You're that. You got to be dealing with that. You got to know you, and you got to know your crew.
Yes.
If you know that, then you will know what your village needs to have in it. And so I'm very grateful. I've had situations where, I danced like the whole time I grew up. So I had my dance family, and I had multiple dance families. So like I was a member of Collage, and then I, danced with Nina. So I had 2 dance villages. Yes. And then I had Girl Scouts. And then I was doing stuff at school. I was very active at school. And, so my husband went through the black circuit in Durham. And, all the black schools, they all know each other. He went to Fairfield Street, Shepherd, and Hillside. Y'all all know each other.
Some of us in Europe, so.
Right. So they all know each other. So they have like a piece of village there. Central INT, that was the natural progression for many people who went through that chain. I didn't. So we had this other part of village, but and then there was this African dance world. And then my mama, like, she's always been everybody's mama. So she had these girls that she helped raise that used to come to our house. And they became my village. They became like my aunties. And so they still my aunties. God bless y'all. We're good. I love y'all. Right. So I have that part of my village. And then I went to college, and, I went to 2 different schools, and I picked up a god sister at the first school, transferred, and picked up a whole family. And then I pledged at school. So, I got my line sisters. Ooh, to all the Deltas out there. I got my line sisters. And so some of them are still real close village. They'll always be my line sisters, all of them. But, some of them, you extract a piece and they become village.
Right.
And then, one of my line sisters became the godmother to our children.
Yeah.
Village. Her husband now, even before he was the husband, we had already selected him to be the godfather. We knew.
Yeah. We knew. We knew.
And that's village. And you bring all these people on, and now our children do things and their activities, and the leaders from their activities, some of them have literally become like family village. And so you pick people up, and there's some people who have fallen off over the years.
Yeah.
And it's not anything bad. It's just that they're not village members right now. Yeah. Love lost, but they're just not village members. Right. And so you gotta pick your village. You pick your village, but then you gotta do village evaluation. You gotta have that moment where you do crew evaluation. Where are your people now? Like, where's my husband now? Like, where is he mentally? What does he need? Do I need to evaluate his friendship circle? Now his friendship circle is about that big. He got 4 friends. Do you have 4? Maybe 3. He got 3 friends. But Jesus makes 4. He has 4 friends. Because what a friend we have in Jesus. Hallelujah. So, but even then, I'm like, look at his friends. His friends cool, but I question his friends more for being his friend than for them having questionable activities. But then, like, it's but I know my husband is. I know what he needs. I look at my kids. We have people around us right now that are pouring into them, and if they're not, what do we need to either attach to them or get ourselves and get it ourselves for them? And then me, what do I need? And then it's like, now let's evaluate all the people around us.
Right. But that's a part of being a leader, is making sure you surround yourself and surround your family with people that are positive and that's going to pour into your children, and pour not just into your children, but pour into your marriage.
Right.
People,
whether they're married or not.
But people that's going to respect your marriage and make sure that if you're not doing something right, hey, sister, this is not what you need to do. Yeah. But one thing I enjoyed what you said is about your mom, how other people throughout your community saw her as the neighborhood mom.
Yes.
And that's one thing.
Mama, auntie.
Yeah, auntie. And that's one thing that as parents, we got to know that other people are watching us.
Yeah.
They're watching how we parent, and they're watching how we interact with our spouse if we're married. And I would say that I experience that all the time. And our son can tell you, he comes and tell you that when they was little, I would take them to the basketball court. And I would be playing basketball, and they'd be playing in the park. Then as they started getting older, they started to play with me. But they was only like 11, 12. But there'd be other kids that were out there the same age, 12-year-old boys. And I was 20-something years old, maybe 30. I would pick these kids up, and they would play on my team. And there would be other guys that would not pick these kids up. I can go to the park today, and I have been to the park not too long ago. And one of the guys came up to me and said, I respect how you used to bring your sons to the basketball court and used to let us play on your team when we was little. I have had guys that one guy stopped his car in the middle of the street, turned around, came back because I was at the grocery store, saw me and ain't seen me in a year, and was like, man, where you been? I've been looking for you. And I was like, I ain't playing ball like that no more. But I'm not saying that to toot my own horn. What I'm saying is, as a parent, you also have the responsibility when you see another child that needs that hug, needs that talk to them. I know it's kind of difficult nowadays with how some of these kids can be disrespectful, but it's also because there's nobody there to talk to them. And as a leader, as a parent, we have that responsibility sometimes, all the time. Hey, young man, how you doing? You want to play? Young lady, you need something? Let's talk. Because they're watching. And now some of these guys are 30, in their early 30s, late 20s, and they see me, they want to have conversations with me. They talk about what they're doing with their sons because of what they saw me do. Because they didn't have a father that was taking them to the park like I was taking my sons to the park. And my sons are 22.
No, 21.
20,
you be 22. Right.
And if he's around and my oldest son, we go to the park today. I watch. I can't play because somebody got me on.
Okay, let's start off with, it is not me. It is his body. I just would like him to be able to walk when we are 80. Well, he'll be 80 before I'm 80. But
sexy and depends.
Sexy and depends. But I just want him to be able to walk. So don't let him blame me for the fact that he cannot play basketball. That is not true. But that's a huge thing. I think that one, you kind of mentioned the idea of self-inserting into somebody's village. I mean, and they have options whether or not to accept you.
Right.
So we technically have a fifth child who clearly, well, we probably have with fifth and sixth children,
right,
who are kids who one observed us, they saw us in a space, and they saw how we were with our own kids. They saw how we interacted with other people, and they chose us to be family, which I think is huge, especially when these kids were at that point in middle and high school.
Right.
And they chose us to be family. And like to this day, one of them will literally tell us that she's coming to stay at our house. She will pack up her own bag and just tell us to come pick her up.
And stay a week or two.
Yeah, she has no problem.
She has stayed a week or two.
Right, during the panorama or the pan-seared salmon, as I heard somebody call it recently, during this pandemic, we actually had her here for like 2 weeks, and her biological parents called and asked if she was coming home. And then we have another child who now she's in college, she's a senior in college, and when she has something going on, her parents will call us and say, look, can you give her a call? Or she'll see us and be like, look, mom, dad, we need to talk. Because we have not only one, I'm honored that these kids would choose us.
Yes, because nowadays
a lot of people don't, and they don't trust people with good reason.
Especially girls.
Oh yes, but honored that they would choose us, but then also honored that they continue to allow us to pour into them, and they trust us with some things that they don't even want to tell their parents, and they know that if it's something really, really bad, then we go into the parents. Like we gotta all work together.
Right.
But then other than that, just some things that they need to let out, some things they can get out, and they trust us with that knowledge. And actually, one is seniors in college and one is a senior in high school. We got some money to dish out. If you would like to donate to our fundraiser to support them, the kids that we didn't birth, like and don't even really own in our house, they're senior high school, senior college, they're gonna need some stuff. So feel free. We'll send it to us, we'll give it to them. But inserting into these villages of these other kids, but then just the idea of leaders who are role models. And so watching us do what we do has shifted and changed the lives of some children, but also some adults. I think about some of the people who are around us who aren't married, or even are in marriages that maybe are a little bit fresher than ours. Not fresh, newer. I won't say fresh. Marriage is fresh. It gets renewed regularly. We got to, or else we ain't gonna stay together.
We still get our honeymoon every now and then.
Every day. But I will say, if we didn't refresh our marriage, we would not have made it to year 20.
No.
We wouldn't have made it past year 1. My Lord.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Year 1 wasn't bad. I think it was year 4 when we really went through. Yeah, it was 4.
1 through.
Yeah, 1 through 4 was. yeah, 1 through 4.
But but part of that was also getting to know you. Even we dated for 6 months, we were engaged for 9 months, we got married, but even that time,
15 months.
We got 15 months in the game, and we did extensive premarital counseling.
Yeah,
extensive.
And we was together every day.
Yes, we were together every day. And we did a lot of talking, but it's something different once you make a promise that you are not going to go anywhere, and a real commitment to God and for the God of everybody, that you're not going anywhere, and it's not being trapped. And I think that some people get that.
Yeah,
it's learning, 1, to be committed, 2, to say, I'm not gonna give up. I'm just not. If I truly believe that you were the person that was made for me, then I'm not gonna give up. And so we made this decision.
Correct.
And sometimes that's hard, and it's loud, and it's frustrating. And you got to take a break.
Well, when you say take a break,
I mean, like, I'm gonna be back in 3 hours. Or I'll be back tomorrow. I'm going to my mama's house. And when you have good village around you, when you go escape to somebody's house, they'll tell you, you're going back. Right. Or they'll pour into you during that time.
Yeah, that was more than earlier.
Yeah, I mean,
now
1-4.
Like now,
12. 1-4.
Now we can get in an argument and ain't nobody going with us.
Oh, I'm gonna go downstairs. I'm eating a snack. We're talking about.
We're gonna sleep in the same bed.
Yeah. Don't always want to.
Put a pillow in between us, but
I will turn my back strong. No, we're in the same bed. But that is figuring out people, relationship. And so, just like in any leadership capacity, you got to have relationship.
Definitely.
And so even in a marriage, you can be so let's be very clear. You can be in marriage and not have a relationship.
I see it all the time. You can be a parent and
not have a relationship. Oh gosh, I think that's even more prevalent.
That's prevalent. That's that absent parent. Like, people think an absent parent is a parent that's not in the household. There are absent parents that live in the house
with the
kids. And I think when we talk about leadership and talk about the roles, I think that's one of the things, like, we do well at. Like, you took on this job, a position. At the same time, I was offered a position. But her position, she's a doctor. I got my bachelor's. Of course, she's gonna make more money than I make at this current time. So,
well, not necessarily.
Not necessarily, but
right.
Majority of the time, you're going to right now. And so it was, if I took this position and you're working your position, we were going to have our kids. They were going to have to go to school early and then get picked up late. So that means they would probably be in school at 7 o'clock, getting picked up at 5 o'clock. That's 10 hours. Then they were going to have to go to their activities. So at the end of the day, how much quality time were they going to have with both parents, or just one, or either parent? The time was going to be short. So that wasn't going to work for us, right? So I had to take a role where I just sub a few days out the week, and so I could be at the house to pick the kids up or drop them off.
Or drop them off in the morning, and I pick them up in the afternoon.
But that works for us.
But then, even in that dynamic, the reason why it really wasn't going to work was because of time.
Right.
And so what we figured out in that discussion, because relationship, like, look, I know what you want to do. Right. I have a wonderful husband who is working hard to make sure that one day I can just do my own thing and I don't have to work another job,
right.
which I love that he desires, but we've got to make it make sense. Right.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense.
And so we figured out what didn't make sense about it. But if something comes along that will work that out, or even if it's that position presented in a different way.
Or before your position was presented.
Right. Or even like the position that's presented now, right. We've learned we could possibly work it, but now we had to figure that out. But that took a strong team thought process. We had to really sit down together, and it was just not what I want. Well, it wasn't what I wanted, but now sometimes hindsight is 20/20. It still wasn't going to be right, but now we know what would be right. And so the whole idea of teamwork make the dream work.
Right.
Like that, I think that is one of our strengths.
Yeah.
And so, like, even today we were at the soccer field. I was eating dinner, and the lady was like, "Oh, she was talking about how good the food was." She was talking about, and she said, "Oh yeah," and she was talking to him. So yeah, you gotta do something about cooking. I was like, "Honey, he cooked this." Like, he cooked this. And so I think that another thing that is unique about the way we lead here is the dynamic between traditional roles.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Let me start off with this. I can cook.
Yeah, she can cook.
I cook my butt.
The noodles.
That is not true.
No, she can cook. She really can cook.
But dynamic.
Right.
When we first got married, I was working all night. Not all night, but sometimes I might get home at 7:00. Who's waiting on me for dinner?
You see this? I'm not for the wait. I got to eat.
Nobody's gonna wait on me for dinner. And I mean, we had 2 kids at that time. Yeah, we hadn't had the third yet.
Right.
They were not gonna wait on me to eat. That would be silly. And my husband can cook. Now, don't get me wrong. It was some finessey things that I do that he does not do. And it was a pleasure treat when mommy would come home and I would do the bigger things. But over the years, I'm like, "Babe, why don't you just try?" And now he likes Food Network all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, some of it is like that teacher-student thing. And it's not that, because I know more, because I did it different. My husband could cook. Like, the boys were alive. They could cook regularly.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that he did things a certain way. Like, "Babe, why don't you try?" And sometimes we would do it together. Like, we would cook together. And so I gleaned some things from him. He gleaned some things from me. And so it's about, I teach you, you teach me.
Right.
But being willing for that. I think that any leader, if you're going to be a leader, you got to be willing to learn from the people in your fellowship.
Right, definitely.
And so, not to say, and I think this is, we constantly going to have to go back to this. In a marriage, yes, head of household, but we both hold leadership positions. So at some point in time in the house, my husband's in my fellowship.
Yeah.
Just like sometimes I'm in my husband's fellowship. All the time in our house, our kids are in our fellowship.
Yeah.
But no, I won't even say all the time, because sometimes our kids lead us.
Yeah.
And it's not always a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. How do you practice leadership if you never get to lead?
Right. Yeah.
We allow our children to have choices. And we have one child, our 4-year-old, 16-year-old, who does not give us a choice. She came out of the womb ready to say, "You do this."
Mm-hmm.
And yes, sometimes it can be taken as bossy, but I just receive that it's going to serve her very well when she gets older.
She knows what she wants.
She knows what she wants, and it's okay. And she tells us, and we're teaching her the vocabulary of asking questions and not just demanding.
Yeah. But she will stomp her feet and yell what she wants.
Because she knows it. She is a person who does not like to compromise. And sometimes she doesn't have to. And I think that as parents, sometimes we forget that our children should have opportunity to not compromise. There needs to be some non-negotiables in their life.
Definitely.
Just like we have non-negotiables in ours. And if you don't have non-negotiables in your life, that's the problem. If you don't have non-negotiables in your life, that's a problem. In your life, choose some things. Need to be some hard boundaries with some things. And you need to know that so you can tell your spouse. You need to know that so you can tell your kids.
Right.
They need to see you model Boundaries. There are certain things that you could do with me, to me, when you were 4 or 3 or 2 that you can't do at 10. That you can't do at 23.
23.
Because that's our dynamic in our house right now. We got 23, 10, and 4. Excuse me, 4, 16. We got them all in our house. And it's certain things that it is difficult sometimes for the different kids to see different kids be able to do certain things, and you have to remind them, you're not that age.
Right.
You're not 23. You can't do what 23 does.
You're not 10.
You're not 10. You can't do what 10 does. You're not 4/16. You can't do what 4/16 does.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that it's any different. Like you said earlier, you got to know your people. You got to observe and know what they need and know where they're learning and teach them.
Definitely. You got to teach them. I mean, that's one thing as a parent, we have to teach our kids how to be leaders.
Right.
We have to teach them how to be leaders. And that way, like we said earlier, and like you just were saying, give them responsibilities. Give them and let them sometimes, what do you want to do?
Let them have an opinion.
Let them have an opinion. And let them be in the role of a leader. Because if they learn how to lead in the house, then when they go outside the house, they know how to be a leader and not a follower of the wrong things.
Right.
Because everybody, to be a great leader, you have to learn to be a good follower.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to follow, you're not going to know how to lead. But also give your children opportunities to lead. So when they go out in the world, they know what they're looking for.
But also be a good example of leadership too.
Right.
So they know what good leadership looks like. So they also recognize foolish leadership. Like, no, that's not it. I know better. And so, people talk about, when you know better, you do better. Yeah. But if you never know better, you'll never do better. If you never know how to lead, you'll never know how to lead well. If you never jack up leading, like this is the ground where I need you to mess up with your leadership.
Yeah.
Right here, in here. So I can tell you messed up in your leadership. Like, that's not what you do. Just like your that's not good leadership. Because you're 4/16 and that's what you're trying to do. This is what you're trying to lead and get us to do the things that you desire. That's not good leadership. That's not going to get me to do what you want. And literally, that's what we tell her. Right. Okay, I get what you're saying, but that's not going to get me to respond in the way you want me to respond. So I need you to change how you're asking that. I need you to change how you're saying that. I need to change how you're selling that.
Right.
When you change that, then maybe you'll get the response that you desire.
Your presentation.
Oh, honey, your presentation is jacked. That's that steak on the trash can lid. I need you to bring me that thing on China. But I think that in marriage is the same thing. Right. You can't get what you want if you don't put it in a presentable way for the person you're giving it to respond.
Right. That's why I was saying, we talked about earlier. I can't say I'm the head of the household. I'm barking orders. You're going to do what I say because I'm the man.
Because he's observed.
Yeah. Because I observe, I have to watch. And then it's the thing of, not the thing, but what the Bible say. Jesus loved the church. God loves the church, but Jesus loved the church that he gave up his life for the church, and he wanted the church to be clean without a blemish. I'm just quoting, I'm saying verbatim. So if a man is supposed to love his wife the way that Jesus loved the church, he would not do anything that would defy her, disrespect her. In other words, I meant to say to disrespect her, to degrade her, anything that's going to humiliate, that young lady, woman. You're not going to do anything. You love her. You're going to love her like you love yourself. And if you really love yourself, you take care of yourself. So you're going to take care of her. And Jesus died for the church.
Right.
To bring the church back clean. So as you saying you're the head of the household, what are you willing to do for your spouse?
For your house.
For your house. Okay? You're not going to be disrespectful to the one that you love, because Jesus wasn't disrespectful to the church. You're not going to abuse her, because Jesus did not abuse the church. Okay? So,
but you're going to be honest with her.
You're going to be honest.
You're
Jesus was honest
show
with the church.
Her the right thing.
Right.
You're going to, even when it hurts, Because I'm gonna say
Oh,
this.
the truth
Sometimes
hurts.
the truth hurts.
The truth hurts. But you rather for me to be truthful to you,
Right.
than for me to lie to you and say, oh, this is okay when something's not okay.
Right. And it's a two-way street.
Right.
Sometimes, just like this whole basketball thing, I know he keeps talking about playing basketball and I'm the reason. Part of it, I am the reason. You see that? Part of it, I am the reason. Because I'm going to be honest. You know good and well, you ain't got no business. No business on a basketball court. You just got surgery on your ankle because your ankle tackle up because all that concrete and all the foolishness you went through in the army. You ain't got no business. And so, even though the truth may hurt, because in my husband's mind, he's still balling. He could go to the NBA next week. Not reality. And so I have to be honest. But just like if I'm staying up working, I'm working on stuff to 4 o'clock in the morning, and I need sleep. I talk about I want to lose weight. I'm not gonna lose no weight if I'm not getting no rest. But my husband tells me to go to sleep, and I roll my eyes at him. Sometimes we're not good fathers.
Right. We're not.
Sometimes we're just not good fathers. So we are coming up on an hour.
Yes.
Before we go, is there anything else you want to tell the good people of Leadership Live Land that you want to make sure they get, either something that we already talked about or something that we hadn't talked about yet? You just want to make sure they get this piece.
For one of the things is for single parents and stay-at-home moms, stay-at-home dads. Sometimes we don't always see ourselves as leaders because we're not out there in the workforce. But understand this, you are a leader. You're a leader in your house. You're a leader in the community. People are watching what you do. And so don't think, oh, I don't need Leadership Live. I don't need leadership skills. You do, because there are people up under you that you're going to have your greatest impact on. Mm-hmm. And you want to put those young ones out into the world with confidence, to know that they have the ability to stand up and stand with anybody that's beside them. So that's one of the things I just want to say. Don't think because I'm a stay-at-home parent that I don't have this leadership thing. Yes, you do. You are a leader. And we have to understand that leadership doesn't stop as working parents because we did all this at work. When you walk through that door, you got to put that leadership hat back on. And matter of fact, you have to be the best leader that you can possibly be when you walk in that door, because like I said before, they're watching you, your spouse, your children, even the dog. Dogs know when you got a bad day. So you got to make sure you're doing the right thing at all times. This is one of the things I want to put out there. It's one of the things I want to say.
And I will say this: even if you do the wrong thing, you may be doing the wrong thing at the right time, but you need to own your craft.
Yes.
Yeah. Own your craft.
Especially
in front of your kids, especially in front of your spouse. Let them know, look, I jacked up. And that is hard. There are many, many parents out there who have never, ever, ever apologized to their children. So sometimes you got to apologize to your kids. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you got to apologize to your spouse, and do it as loud and audaciously as you messed up. Mm-hmm. It matters. It matters, and it's not easy. It is no easier to accept and admit your wrongs in front of people who you live with than people who you may not see today. Right. I'm gonna see y'all jokers all the time, but it's almost more important because I'm gonna see y'all jokers all the time.
Right.
And if you own your crap, you're teaching them to own their crap.
And because if they don't know they made a mistake, some people who don't admit to their mistakes never fix their mistakes.
Because they never messed up.
Because they never mess up. They never own it. So as parents, as leaders, we have to admit, wait, we make mistakes in life. Mm-hmm. And so since I did this, let me apologize. So you'll own up to yourself. So when you out there in the world, you won't keep making the same mistake, saying, well, I ain't did nothing. Because you learned from your parents that you don't have to admit to.
You don't have to hide it.
Right.
You don't have to keep saying that you were right. You weren't.
You won't.
Nobody is. Nobody is always right. So own your crap.
Own it.
Own your crap.
Wrap it up.
Clean it up.
Clean it up.
Fix it, and like really clean it up. Don't sweep it under a rug.
Because it's still gonna stink.
Ooh, yes. And then you're gonna move that rug one day.
You sweep crap up under the rug, it's still gonna stink.
Yeah. That's good. Okay. All right. So I told y'all. So I promised you all in January that for 52 weeks, well, now I'm going to say 52 episodes because it's going to be a unique time on how I'm getting all 52 of these. For 52 episodes, I was going to bring you like fabulous and amazing guests. And here, now for 38 weeks, even the one that was like the wild card, I didn't know how this was going.
I love you because I'm missing Monday Night Football right now.
Well, at least for 37 weeks, I brought you great guests. This 38th week, I'm not so sure. But no, you rocked it out. Proud of you. 38 weeks, I brought you 38 amazing guests. And it's not going to stop. So join me right here next Monday at 9 p.m. for week 39, episode 39 of Leadership Live 2021. And as always, I love you, and I encourage you to keep your leadership all the way live. I'll see you next Monday. Bye.